This is a review of Mary Poppins Returns, the very unnecessary sequel to the 1960s classic Disney movie Mary Poppins. It's literally over 50 years later. Part of Disney's current trend of taking their classic movies and cashing in on nostalgia by making sequels and remakes and readaptions. I don't know. It's a thing. And the way I'm describing it makes me sound like I'm more negative on it than I am. Well, for one thing, I just woke up, so my hair looks messy. But it always looks messy, so who cares? What was I saying? Well, it makes me sound a lot more negative on it than I actually am. I really don't, I don't care that they're remaking these movies. I mean, I get why. But they have yet to make any that actually capture the same, that actually live up to the originals. That being said, this movie probably comes the closest to living up to the original film of any of the Disney remake. And I think it helps that it's a sequel. It's not a remake. They're not trying to, redo the same exact plot. Granted, they do take a lot of beats, but it's still a sort of continuation of the story of some of these characters. So basically the premise is Michael Banks and his sister Jane Banks are about to lose the house, the bank household that was the location of the first movie due to a loan they can't pay off. And Mary Poppins shows up to help them and help their kids, and then it's a Mary Poppins fun romping adventure. Mary Poppins, and then there's a Bert-esque character played by Lin-Manuel Miranda named Jack. They do mention Bert in the movie. I guess Jack was Bert's apprentice back in the day, so that's how he knows Mary Poppins. But he's basically the same kind of character. This movie is a lot of fun. I wouldn't say it's as memorable as the original, because how can it be? But just on a personal level, the songs were just not as memorable. And it's completely new songs. They resisted any urge to just throw in the old songs redone. It's all completely new music, which is cool. But the songs also just aren't as good. And I don't know, I'm sure there will be kids out there somehow that will grow up with Mary Poppins Returns, but not the original Mary Poppins. I don't really know how, because it's so obviously a sequel. I mean, it's called Returns, but somebody will grow up with that. And maybe to them, the songs will be as memorable as, earworms, songs they know by heart. It's hard to say. But the songs are just simply not as memorable. They're well written, but they're lacking in the same kind of catchy hooks. And I don't know how much Lin-Manuel Miranda actually worked on the music for this movie, because he was in it, but I don't know how much he actually wrote. But a lot of it has the same kind of feel as his music. And when I say that, what I mean is that Lin-Manuel Miranda music generally seems to lack traditional hooks in his songs. His songs are often to advance the plot rather than to, be super catchy. That's why I'm not big, and I'm not big on Hamilton, because it's just it's not. I don't know. There's a few songs in Hamilton that are very catchy, but a lot of them are very just here's the story, but in song. And it's weird because the Mary Poppins Return songs aren't really like that. They do stop the story. But they're also still lacking in the catchy hooks. I mean, there are hooks in some of them. They're just not, they're not as iconic as Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious or Step in Time, Step in Time, Step in Time, Step in Time, or Let's Go Fly a Kite. I'm already, I watched the movie, how long ago was that? Maybe a week ago at this point. It's probably been a week. I'm already struggling to forget, or I'm struggling to forget. I'm struggling to remember like how the songs went. There was one about there's a Step in Time-esque one, but the main like lyric is really weird. It's like trip a little light or something. I don't know. Trip a little light, fantastic. Like what? That's not. How is that? That's such a strange. What does it even mean? I mean, I guess no. Step in time has a clear meaning. Step in time, but that just doesn't like it doesn't mean anything. And I mean neither does supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. But it's like catchy. It's a funny word. And the whole show, all the songs in this movie, sort of the songs and scenes like parallel tone wise and feeling wise stuff in the original movie. And that's where I think they could have probably afforded to differ themselves a little bit from the original film. Because it's kind of like there's every song has a clear comparison to another song from the original, and I think the only one that like is better than the song it's originally based on is there's Meryl Streep is like the crazy, like in the original movie they go to that guy's house and he's been laughing so much and so he's floating up on the ceiling because he's laughing so hard and it's like making him float, and there's a whole weird song about that. Meryl Streep basically shows up as a weird zany character like that called Topsy Turvy, and she has a song about how everything's all upside down, and that song is better than the song in the original mainly because the song in the original is kind of the one completely unmemorable song in that movie. It's not even really much of a song. Whereas this one, I mean, it's Meryl Streep, and she's Meryl Streep, and she's like pretty talented on the musical side of things. It kind of gives you Into the Woods vibes where they had her. Disney likes casting Meryl Streep in their musicals, fam. So that song was an improvement, but like every other song, there's a parallel in the original that it's just not as good as. Now, I've talked a lot about the bad. There's also, so I guess I'm gonna finish my bad points, and then I'll circle around to what I really liked about it, because right now it sounds like I hate this movie. There's also a plot line about the bank. Like, basically Michael and Jane know they have shares in the bank that their father left in the bank, which could pay off the loan, but they can't find their share certificate, and then spoilers, at the end they do find it, but like at first they can't find it, and so they go to the bank to try to get help, and there's a whole little subplot about them like trying to find the certificate and the bank not being helpful, and it's and they sort of introduce a bank villain character, which I guess is fine, but it just kind of, sorry. I'm blowing my nose. I don't want you to have to see that. Okay, I'm good. Which is, the bank villain character just kind of felt unnecessary, but at the same time, if they left out that plotline, the movie would be way too short, because it feels a lot shorter than the original movie. Like, the scenes just go by a lot faster. I think it's much more modern a movie that way. In a modern movie, the scenes are like never more than like 5 minutes, generally. Or if the scene is more than 5 minutes, they cut back to a different plot line and then cut back to the main plot line. And that's kind of what this has. There's a main plot with Mary Poppins and the kids, and there's a subplot with the bank and the Michael and Jane trying to fight stuff. And the subplot's largely pretty good. Like, before Mary Poppins shows up, you get to see a lot of, like, emotional stuff from, like, Michael, where he's, like, grieving his dead wife. And you just kind of see he's, like, completely disheveled and just trying to scrape by. And that's a pretty gripping story, but then that subplot kind of shifts focus into this whole thing about the bank villain, and it's not as interesting. if more time with that would probably have made a better movie. I don't know what you replace with that, but like, I don't know, something. Because the movie doesn't really hit as many emotional chords as the original movie did. The original movie, I mean, it's really kind of a movie about George Banks, and this movie, I think, is supposed to be really a movie about Michael Banks, but it doesn't quite hit the right amount of focus on the character. Now I've critically analyzed it and gone through what doesn't work. This movie, it's just not as good as the original. And now I'm gonna say that despite all of those things I said, this movie is a very, very good time. When I say it's the closest to recapturing the magic of the original film, not films. There's only one. There can only be one. What I mean is that there's a wonderful sense of, like, excitement and energy and just, like, sort of childlike wonder in this movie. And there's, like, a lot of... There's so much love for the original. Even if the movie was greenlit as a Disney even if the movie was greenlit as a Disney cash grab, it doesn't feel like a Disney cash grab when you're watching it. In that all the actors and sets and like everything about it is just so lovingly referencing the original that it almost feels like an homage to the original film, like a tribute almost. And they resist the route of making it like a straight up remake and try to like kind of do their own thing. I think the movie would be better if they committed more to doing their own thing, but as it stands, it's still like really like by the end of the movie, basically they find the bank certificate and they have to hurry to the bank, and they're like, how are we gonna get there? And how are we gonna get there in time? And Mary's like, oh, I can rewind time. And they're like, what? You can rewind time? That doesn't make any sense. And so then she goes off with Jack and his light fixer men. Instead of being chimney sweeps, they're like lamplighter. Like they light the street lamps, which is kind of a weird thing, but it's like whatever. And in that scene, I was literally like on the edge of my seat, like ooh, what fun childlike thing are they gonna do to rewind time now? Or like it's just cool. And then we took my little cousin, who's like 3, and I looked over at him on my mom's lap, and he's like on the edge of his seat, like, what's gonna happen? Like he was super into it too. So that's where I'm like, it's not just me. I think a kid would eat this movie up. Granted, still think you could show them the original, but this movie works nice as a companion piece. And so, okay. The acting. Let's talk about the acting. Emily Blunt is a really good Mary Poppins. I mean, she's not Julie Andrews, obviously, but what are you going to do? Julie Andrews is like 90. And, oh my god, I just got distracted again. Dick Van Dyke is in the movie. That's what I was thinking of. I'm not going to tell you what he does, but he does show up, and it's pretty wonderful. He's playing a character from the original, and he looks exactly like the character from the original. And I think if you know the original, you probably know who he's going to show up as. It's not Bert, but it's a fun time. And he's great. Julie Andrews doesn't show up. I guess she didn't want to do it because she didn't want to take the focus away from Emily Blunt, which is very respectable. If they were going to pick anyone to play Mary Poppins now, Emily Blunt was the person to pick. She pretty perfectly, her portrayal is practically perfect in every way. I mean, she just like captures the character very well. And then there's Lin-Manuel Miranda, who's playing Jack, and he's just very, very cheery and pleasant. Like, he has just an adorable smile on his face at all times. You can tell he loves being there. There's this great little shot I think after the Step in Time-esque song where he walks away and he does the little hard to display with my camera, but he does the little hold on. He does the little like I can't even do it. He does the little like foot thing. I can't do it. I literally can't. I'm too uncoordinated to do it. Otherwise, I would try to prop up the camera somewhere and do it. But he does the little like da do do kick. Like I'm walking. He does the little da do do but he only does it once, and it's like this almost like spontaneous thing. Like he's like, I gotta do it, like Bert did in the original. He's so into it. You can tell he's like a huge fan. And that's what his love, the love he is just like radiating for the originals and the excitement to be in this movie is just kind of how the whole movie feels. At least in the parts involving Mary Poppins. It just feels like such a wonderful, like, everybody's just so excited to be in the movie, and it's just really cool, and everything's really cool. And they do throw in some new idea. Like, they have an animated section, which is awesome. It's like 2D animation, classic. Oh, but this time, instead of in a drawing, they're in like a china pot. So everything has this like glass look to it, and there's like a chase scene like in the original, but they're going around the side of the pot, and so they're like upside down and sideways, and it's really wacky. And I don't know, I thought that was one of the coolest parts of the movies, and I wish it had lasted a little longer, because the animated section in the original movie goes on for like 15 minutes or something like that. And honestly, that part's a little overly long in the original movie, but in this, they don't spend enough time in the animated world, I think. There's a lot of stuff I wish they would spend more time on, but that's going into criticism. I think my tendency to not review movies until like at least a week after I've seen them does kind of lend me the benefit of hindsight, because my initial reactions to movies are also often very strong. Like, when I saw A Star Is Born, my initial reaction was like, oh my god, this movie is great. I even made a post on Instagram about it. I don't know why, but in fact, I kind of want to delete that post, but also the meme I posted was pretty good. What? I'm gonna shut up now. Okay. But then, like, after a week or whatever, when I finally got around to actually reviewing A Star Is Born, rather than just giving, like, knee-jerk reaction on Instagram, I was like, oh, I've already forgotten a lot of this movie. This isn't a classic I'm gonna go back to. Mary Poppins Returns, given that week of hindsight, is helpful because if I had reviewed it walking out of the theaters, I would have been like gushing. Because I would have been like gushing about how I was on the edge of my seat, how I had this feeling of like, I had this sort of childlike wonder feeling that you don't really get. I mean, at my age, I'm not that old, but like, I'm old enough that I don't get that feeling very often. The last time I got that feeling was actually probably playing Mario Odyssey, which, I gotta blow my nose again, hold on. Mario Odyssey, which I honestly should probably, I don't know why I haven't reviewed that game. I did make a little video, I think, a while back. This is really, really off topic, but I did make an update video a little while back that was also like a first impressions video from Mario Odyssey. That was like a year ago, and I haven't reviewed it. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll do that right now, as soon as I turn off this video. But focus. This is not Mario. This is Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins. That's what I would call the movie if it sucked, but it didn't. It was cool. The last time I felt that childlike sense of wonder, going back to the original point, was playing Mario Odyssey, because Mario Odyssey was a very, very, very good game and just had a lot of pure Mario run and jumping fun. Um, and so, in summary, because I'm just going to end it now, because I'm losing track of where I'm going, and this is why a lot of reviewers just like have random cuts in the middle of their reviews, because you get distracted, your brain goes haywire, and then you gotta cut back. But I don't do that, at least not right now. Maybe someday I will. But I like the spur of the moment talking, but not when it takes 40 minutes. Okay, well, it's only been 20 though. Still, that's a bit long. In summary, I like the movie gives you a great sense of childlike wonder, but I also feel that it doesn't hold up to the original. So it's an interesting kind of. My opinion on it is definitely positive, but it's an interesting kind of mixed bag. It's by far the best of these Disney remake sequels, and it does earn itself a worthy place next to the original title as something you can show your kids. But like, as a barely adult, it's just like it's not hugely. I'm not going to remember that much about the actual movie, but I will remember the feeling that I had watching the movie in theaters, which was just like a lot of love, a lot of kind of fan geeking out, a mixture of like geeking out as a fan and just being sucked in. I kind of turned off my critical brain during a lot of the movie. A lot of those criticisms that I gave, I didn't think of until afterward. Maybe from now on, every time I see a movie that I really like, I should just make an Instagram post gushing about it, and then make one of these reviews, and then you can compare. Because you could do that with The Star is Born. But you can't do that with Mary Poppins, because I didn't make a post about it. Maybe I will at some point. My Instagram, ChuckBatman5, same as my other YouTube channel that no one is subscribed to. Shout out, like, and subscribe. I feel like a cringe machine. I am a cringe machine. That's my role. Anyway, yes, you should go see this movie if you liked the original. Don't expect something as good as the original, but that's fine to say, because who was really expecting something as good as the original from modern Disney? No one. But it's not like the Beauty and the Beast remake, which from what I've heard just like redoes everything, but with less good singers. It really does kind of earn its own place next to the original movie, and that's really cool. I mean, if this movie was going to have to get made by the mandate, the mouse mandate, we've got to remake every movie. I don't know what I'm doing. This was the best way it could have been redone, and it has a worthy place in the Disney classics line, even if it is kind of a cash grab. Arrivederci!